he's singing on a limb. And I've been waiting all year long, sing back to him. 605, he's on the ground, all fanned out, dragging their wings, just dancing around. Walking like a boss, bowed up like a man, got them old hands in the palm of his hand, all fired up, all running around, just cutting, and he's just strutting. Yeah, man, he's just strutting. He opened up a storm.
Well, hello, fellow turkey hunters, guys and gals. This is probably for more beginners than advanced turkey hunters. This is nothing to them, but I got some of my calls out here that I'm going to use this spring. I'm going to pick a few out, carry maybe a couple of slates, maybe 3 mouth calls, box call, this guy here. But I'm kind of showing you how I get ready. I get everything out, get them all prepped, and see how they sound, and that's what I'm going to use. And if it doesn't work, I'll change it up the next day. But I like glass. I got slate here. The slates are, and some of these glass, they have slate underneath. So, and this little guy here, this is a tree call. So this takes sandpaper. I always carry different grades of sandpaper here. I like the rougher one on slate, and I'll prep it up. You do this in the field a lot too. And if it's raining, this is no good. Slates aren't any good. You can use glass. Here's your tree. This one's just got a real subtle call when they're first. So they use this one here when they're in a roost, waking up in the morning, and they just start. You hear them faint, just yelping a little bit, dancing around that branch, waiting to come down. The quieter, the better. Probably did a little bit louder. And then your normal slate. And again, I'll pick out different and then I'll go to my glass calls, which I like because they're raspier. I just like them. And I use this tool to put a rough edge on them. Like that one. The rougher the better. If you don't have anything like this, I got this from a turkey show one time. I'm not sure exactly what it's made out of, but it cuts into the glass pretty good. If you don't have anything like this, you could use anything rough. You could even, if you didn't have anything with you could look for a stone and just take a stone and rough up the glass. Because once you got it like that, then that you don't use any, nothing happens here. It's just the part you roughed up. That one. You want different sounds. You don't want the same sound all the time, because you might use this one, get no answer. Use this one, get no answer. And you use this one, and all of a sudden they just start gobbling. And every day is different. And this one here, this is called by Primos, where you either suck into it or you blow it out. So that's kind of cool too. So that's a little different sound. I take that with me all the time. For locating, I got owl calls and crow calls, but this box call, this is old Lynch Foolproof. This has been around a long time, and I keep some chalk in the bag here, right in the box, and keep that baby chalked all the time too. So I'll chalk it down. And then, you know, close in, I mean real soft. But if you want to get a tom to gobble way out there, you're walking around, you just want to hear one and start hunting them. So it makes a real raspy, loud song or call. So, and there's a bird out there, he will answer you. And then, okay guys, I was telling you about using a slate call in wet weather. They're no good when they get wet. They sound great on a nice sunny day. Even a morning where it's damp can give you problems with it. So right there it sounds. Sounds pretty good. We'll take this one, and this is a glass call. So remember, nothing here. But when you rough this area out, I just got one piece. Just cut that glass like that, and then put the striker to it. Sounds great. But if it's raining out, and this thing of water here is going to prove it. So now that's all wet. And you get a little something out of it, but pretty much nothing. Now do the same thing with the glass call. Some wet as that is, you're never going to get it that wet. With glass, it still calls, still performs. Okay guys, beginners, typical turkey hunt, you try to roost one at night. Yeah, I'm saying try because it doesn't happen all the time, but if you can get one roosted, I use a owl hooter, and the cadence is who cooks for you, who cooks for you all, and that's all you got to say. Blow that in there, just who cooks for you, who cooks for you all. So that's that. And you go around at night when they're roosted, and you try to get one to gobble. And if you know that, and you get 100 yards the next day close to them. No closer. You want to spook them. Get in there and sit down, and kind of wait for that break of dawn, and you might hear them a little bit. If you do, that's when I take the tree call and just real light. And he might gobble back. If he gobbles back, that's all you need to do. Just let it go. Then you can, if you got a wing from a turkey that somebody shot, or maybe you shot one, or you can take a rag or anything and simulate when they fly down, they make a lot of noise. So if you do this, and you got a wing from a turkey, and you just flap it off to the side of your leg. It sounds like the wing beating when he's coming down to the ground. Well, that tom's going to hear that and think there's a hen down there. That's when you can pick it up a little bit louder. 1 or 2 times of that. You don't have to do it a lot. He gobbles, he's coming in. I wouldn't even... Okay, I promised you guys, I have a friend that is a really very, very good mouth caller. He just, like a professional to me. On my experience with him, oh my God, he sounds just like a real turkey. He brings birds in with these calls. He's very good. He knows what he's doing. He practices all the time, through spring, summer, winter, fall, whatever. So this guy's good, and I want him to talk a little bit about how he does it, and maybe a little bit about the calls he uses, and we'll take it from there. These are for you beginners. I know, some of you guys are, you've done this before, but this is more for beginner turkey hunters. And please try these mouth calls. You might not be able to do it right away, but it takes a little time. Once you get used to it, I'm telling you, that's like your best arsenal in your bag. So here he is.
Thanks, Cliff. I appreciate the compliments, but I don't view myself quite that way. I just am self-taught and do a lot of listening, practicing, and a lot of YouTube. There's a lot of great callers out there, like the Grand National Championship, Turkey Grand National Championship just started, and that's a good place to start. Or it just finished, the 2025, and it's on YouTube. You could watch it. You can see how these callers work. But I think most of the turkey hunters, especially those that, have harvested quite a few birds, they always say the same thing, that, the best call, and I'm sure Cliff went over this, the best call to start out with is a box call. Because you really, it's easy to use, easy to make the sound, and I'm sure you mentioned the only drawback is the hands. You're not hands-free. And the second, go-to is usually the diaphragm. If you can get the diaphragm call to work, and again, I'm not an expert in it, and there are many videos out there on YouTube that can show you the exact way to use it, and, the placement in the mouth and whatnot. I'm just going to go over the sound, the basic sound that you get with this, that if you go in the woods with this basic yelp, you will be able to attract a tom. Get him to gobble, maybe even get him to come to you. But a lot of these diaphragms, if you notice, they're cut in different ways. Left side, right side, the middle. And the best way to start out with a diaphragm is to go without a reed that is not cut. And you can purchase one in the single reed or a second reed, because that gets your basic calls down. And then from there, you can see where you personally prefer blowing straight through your mouth or to the side, left side, right side. And the placement of these, it sticks right up on the roof of your mouth, and you use your tongue up against the bottom of it, and you're making like a hissing sound when the diaphragm is between your tongue and your mouth, and it's just that's the tongue up on top of the mouth. And the placement of it, usually, the top of the diaphragm is usually signified by the cut in the cut being on top, or you will see a little dimple on the diaphragm that would signify that. So here's a basic yelp. Again, putting that diaphragm in there, setting it up in the top roof of your mouth with the tongue lightly starting out, and start out with just like a whistle sound. Just try to get that whistle, that shh, and see what the sound that you get out of it, and you start to play with it. And I will try to simulate that. That's with my tongue pressed up tight against it with that shh, shh. And then next you just start to use that and start to let off your tongue and just start to create that sound of what a turkey yelp is. That is your basic yelp, and you can vary it with the intensity in your mouth and with the placement of your tongue and the cadence of it. But once you get that basic yelp down, that's all you need in the woods. And from there, once you get acquainted with it and you start, looking and watching and doing a lot of self-tutorial on YouTube, or listening to, specific people calling, which there's plenty of that out on the internet. You can really get a good idea watching them, seeing how they're placing, their jaw, their mouth, and getting acquainted with it. But that's just how I started, just the way I'm talking, and just went from there. And you can see from these examples on the table, there's many that come from, many different cuts. But it's all your preference. It's how you handle it and you put it in your mouth.
Or just listening to a hand out in the field.
Exactly.
You do that a lot.
Exactly. And then from there you can do certain, you do clucks. I just did a yelp, but I'll quick go through it. You learn how to do clucks, purrs, whips, cackles, and it all, you can simulate a bird up on the limb right before they're going to fly down from their roost in the morning, how a hen sounds, how the fly down sounds, and you can simulate a turkey midday, searching for toms. You can do quite a few calls, and there's quite a few scenarios that you can use out there. But I'll demonstrate a little bit more than just the yelps. So you can go on and you can do a variety of different calls, but once you get that basic yelp down, I think you're going to get in the woods and you're going to get as addicted as Cliff and I are.